Mathys.
Thank you, Chair. Let me put on my timer so I'm not deprived of time. Stopwatch, start. Thank you, Chair. Hello again, National Commissioner. First question, were you at the gates of prison before the infamous media briefing by Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi?
Come again with the question?
Were you at the gates of prison before the infamous media briefing of Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi?
I don't know, Honorable.
Because he said he was, you were. That's what Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi said, that you were on the gates of prison.
Well, he know more than I don't know then.
So the two of you haven't engaged since he gave testimony
No.
to this ad hoc committee.
Okay.
And he said that, no? From your understanding, National Commissioner, was Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi at the gates of prison around the time he did the media briefing?
No, not as far as I know. Not.
So there was a case that was opened against him at Houghton Police Station for torture, etc. Are you familiar with that case?
No.
It was in relation to the kidnapping of in KZN, and I can't remember the witness that we had before us that said he opened a case of torture. So you don't know of any case that's now at IPID against Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi?
Well, I know people open cases as they go along, Honorable Chair. It's strange because that matter was dealt with by the DPCI. They can talk more better on that matter of, I think is the kidnapping of some family in Kwatukuza in KZN.
Yeah.
And where they ended up in Mpumalanga and somebody ended up being found in Mozambique,
Yeah.
crossed illegally there. And yes, what
I'm specifically asking about, Commissioner, is the case that they opened against our KZN Commissioner for torture and kidnapping, etc. So we had testimony here that the case lied at Houghton Police Station for almost a year before it was transferred to IPID. Now only IPID has started investigating the matter. So if you don't know as a National Commissioner that one of you, I mean, I understand cases are opened all the time, but as the head and the highest office in our SAPS, if there's a case against your your provincial commissioners and even your deputy commissioners, that's something you would or you should take an interest in, no?
Thanks, Honorable Chair. I heard about it recently when the member was here. So I will hear from IPID in terms of what do they have. But I'm not sure how. I'm not sure if he was involved in that case. I know it was General Sinona and others that were involved in that case. Hence, there is a departmental case running against Sinona and others who were involved in that case, because somehow the case was a strong case, but it was messed up.
From what we understand, does include him. Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi's contract as KZN Provincial Commissioner is ending on the 31st of March. Am I correct? 2026. What's the plan? Or is there a plan, or are you going to tell us the plan?
Well, I approached him to check whether he would serve further. And also, in terms of the law, I must consult with the Premier, which I did. And he is prepared to serve. We are finalizing, of course, the final details in terms of the how part and those things. That's how far I can go.
I see that it's already on the wires. I missed it. I haven't been on social media. Let's move on to just quickly, the telecom towers. Now, you seemed, or you gave us the impression that, there wasn't anything wrong, National Commissioner, on the concerns regarding the telecom towers. So can you tell us what is the current status of those buildings? Are the buildings occupied?
Yeah, remember, Honorable Chair, we were ejected out with an order of the Department of Labor. Public Works was repairing that building, and they are still repairing it now. But I engaged them to say, but this repair must come to an end so that we can get back to our building. The General Fani informed me recently that they say probably end of April, those buildings would have been finalized in terms of repair. If that's the case, then we will be back into that
So how
building.
much have we spent so far on a building that we haven't occupied?
We purchased the building, I think, for, I know it's 600 million, and subs paid and Public Works paid some part. And of course, thereafter we spent, I think, must be almost $1 billion in terms of IT and repair and installation of some other IT stuff into that building.
Been going on for a while. How many years now?
Mm,
And
it
you're
was
not
purch-
telling us more or less how much it's up to also.
It was
Ge-
purchased
general.
in 2016. And after that, since then, it's about 10 towers building. Since then, only 2 towers were handed over to subs, and it was in, out all the time.
Like 10 years, am I counting about right? And how much money? Because when the building was initially purchased, those are decisions that should have been considered, how long it's 10 towers, how long it's going to take, how much it's going to cost. So do you agree that the purchase of these telecom towers has spiraled out of control? There must be some level of, if it's not corruption or just total mismanagement, for us to have spent so much time and so much money and the police are still not, you're still not occupying the buildings.
Yeah, no, I do agree. Hence, Minister Mkhulu at some point, he wrote a letter to say he's giving back to Public Works and they must give us another accommodation somewhere.
And then the money that we've already spent has SAPS.
Yeah, but looking at things, the money that we already spent there will be a problem. So hence I approach them to say, fix, let's come into the building.
So who's going to be held responsible for making that decision on that project? Because it's a lot of money.
Who's going to?
Who's going to be held responsible? Who's going to be held responsible?
Well, the
Because it's mismanagement, it's either
the
corruption.
current Minister of Public Works was, I think he sanctioned forensic investigation to find out exactly that. And yeah, what I know is that every time we were there, we're being ejected out. And we can't force to, as an employer, force employees to be in a building which labor said you must stay out of it. And
Yeah, so that part we understand, but it's the initial, the purchase of a building and not knowing the details of it. So there was not proper due diligence done, and it was a rushed purchase on the side of SAPS.
yeah, I think the forensic investigation currently undertaken by the Minister of Public Works will be able to identify those responsible.
Okay, we have a lot of forensic investigations. Okay, Lieutenant General Vuma said she was once reprimanded by former Minister Becky Cele in a meeting in relation to PPEs. Apparently, he wanted a list of companies to be appointed for these PPEs. Were you ever a part of a meeting or a discussion where Lieutenant General Vuma was reprimanded by the Minister Cele?
I know that right at the beginning of COVID, there was, at some point, I was in a meeting where there was a problem around suppliers for PPEs. I think in one meeting, the minister said, when we meet, some people, I can't remember who, must come with a list of suppliers. And we went to that meeting, and I think there was either no list or there was very few suppliers. And there was unhappiness. I can't remember the details. There was some unhappiness around why, because the pressure was, we need to acquire these PPEs as soon as possible. Yeah, I remember a little bit on that.
So there was sort of some heated meeting where former Minister Becky Cele got involved or made recommendations or was concerned about the companies that were providing PPEs.
As far as I remember, the concern was there was nothing to put on the table. We met, and there was some subsequent meeting that's supposed to happen where we're supposed to, because they were looking, whoever have whatever stock, let's buy whatever is there. And I think there was little or there was nothing on the table to purchase, and there was unhappiness. I can't.
So he was unhappy
those
about that.
details,
And the reason we're asking that is because when former Minister Becky Cele was here, National Commissioner, he was very animated and very clear that he did not even smell a service provider get involved with procurement in any way, shape, or form. So it's surprising that he had engaged in the very least around the matter of suppliers for PPE. But those were his words. I don't even smell, I've never ever smelt a service provider or engaged on anything around procurement at all. Also, just we're going to stay on Lieutenant General Vuma just for a little bit more. Why did SAPS reject her application for legal assistance? And then maybe at the same time, you can just also answer what assessment was used to reject her application.
it's legal assistance for what?
For her court cases.
Normally, the policy of the organization is if you are charged for any crime or misconduct related to corruption and fraud and related, we do not assist with legal assistance.
When you
But of course, if you apply and you get rejected, and if at the end of the day you are found not to have, you are not guilty such that you didn't commit the crime, then you can go back and ask for your money.
Okay, so in her case, just to be clear, it was rejected on the grounds that there was criminality involved.
Yeah, well, even though I am not I'm not sure which specific in terms of rejection, because if it is for the case of the IPID, they were assisted.
Yeah, no.
I think, yeah, they were assisted. I think the then National Commissioner approved their legal assistance, and yeah, there was.
So you're not sure about the other matters?
No,
that
no,
referred
yeah,
to?
I'm not
Okay.
sure about the other matters, but on the IPID matter, I know they were assisted. So yeah.
Okay, so when you suspended Lieutenant General Vuma, how long were you the National Commissioner, or how long had you been appointed as the National Commissioner?
I was appointed 1st April 2022,
And she was,
and in June the same year, that's when we got the court order.
okay. So this court order, what was it exactly? What did the court order say? Because from my understanding, it didn't make the court order was not about corruption or procurement irregularities or financial misconduct. It was more that they failed to provide a statutory document or something that was for IPID. So IPID requested and they were saying, no, it was a classified document.
Yes. And
Right, yeah.
in that regard, they were assisted with legal
Okay, yeah.
assistance.
So what I'm saying is that you said that you had pressure from the Concord order, but the constitutional court order was just about, it was a statutory obligation that SAPS must provide this classified document. It didn't have anything to do with their misconduct or anything like that. So on what basis did you write to her to ask why she shouldn't be dismissed or suspended?
It is a misconduct in terms of the IPID Act.
That they didn't want to provide a classified document?
Yes. No, that they didn't cooperate with IPID.
But they were arguing that it was a classified document, that's why they didn't. Or did you do an investigation into why they didn't want to and whether the documents that IPID was requesting, they were trying to cover up some misconduct or corruption?
That's the misconduct that was investigated after the final order of the Constitutional Court came out. Okay.
So you think that your decision to suspend her based on them following a process or her following the process rather of going to the Concord and allowing the Concord to make a decision on whether they should supply or provide the classified document to IPID, that was justifiable because they weren't doing it behind. They actually went to court and they asked the court to rule on it. So you think it was justifiable for them to be suspended or her to be suspended rather?
Yeah, there was misconduct when right from the beginning there was misconduct.
What was the misconduct outside of, because what I'm trying to say, National Commissioner, is that they went to court to sort a court decision on whether they should provide this classified document to IPID, right?
Mm.
And the court made a ruling, right? And they agreed. So they weren't doing something behind the scenes, right? The court ruling was strictly on a procedural matter, statutory obligation, which they did. I'm saying to you that did you do an investigation on why they didn't do it? Because it might be the case that they didn't want to provide this document because they were involved in some corruption and this document was going to show that. So that's what I'm just trying to understand. So if you're saying, National Commissioner, that it was just because they did not provide the document and it had to go to the Concord to make that decision, was it justifiable?
Yeah, the investigation was about that. Remember, they were involved in the purchase of some grabber somewhere. And yeah, it was about that.
But who did that investigation? Because the Concord order didn't deal with the merits of the case. It dealt with them providing a document to IPID.
Yes.
And you acted on the Concord order that just said.
But the misconduct happened right at the beginning when they failure to cooperate with IPID is a misconduct on its own in terms of the IPID Act. So they failed to cooperate with IPID. By cooperating with IPID when they were investigating the matter around those scrappers. So the misconduct starts there. And obviously it ran through all the courts until it went at Concord.
So they prolonged the process.
Yes.
Let's talk about the multiple incidents of her break-in that you reported at her home. And she also had security assessments done as well. Were you involved?
Break-in what?
At her home, she had 4 break-ins, and on the 4th one, they caught the gang that was breaking into her house and threatening her.
Break into her house.
Lieutenant General Vuma, yeah.
Okay, yes.
You don't know, honestly, National Commissioner, are you surprised?
No, I know. I didn't say I don't know.
Oh, okay. The way you're looking at me, like I must tell you the whole story, and I don't. You can see that
No, I'm
chair
just,
of
I'm
mine.
just worried.
So
How
what I'm
does,
trying, I'm asking you, were you
Yeah.
involved in that? Because she feel Becky Cele came here, right? And maybe you should respond to that because her story is, or her submission and her testimony here is that you and the former minister Becky Cele were in cahoots of trying to get rid of her, right? Even before you became national commissioner,
okay.
right? She's had death threats. She also had a security assessment done, right? She said that there was a gang that broke into her home, which I'm sure you know. So I'm telling you stories you already know. So I want you to respond, number one. Were you involved in setting up or behind the break-ins and the threats on her life, whether it was actually to kill her or just to threaten her or intimidate her?
Thanks, Honorable Chair. Do I look like a suspect?
I don't know. I'm asking. We don't know what happens there. We've been hearing stories in SAPS. Nothing surprises us anymore. So
Yeah.
we have to ask and remind you that you're under oath because when evidence comes up later, we go and open cases.
Yeah,
We
no,
know
it's
that.
true, Honorable
And you know,
Chair.
EFF is always first to go and
I
open.
was not
cases.
involved. The way I know Minister Kele, he would not have been involved. I know that there was a break-in, yes, and there were people arrested, unless those people say they were sent by me. But I don't know of them that they have been sent by me. I was not involved, Honorable Chair, in that break-in.
You know what former Minister Becky Cele said when I asked him that question? And you know, in his very animated voice, and I asked him, did you threaten or want to kill Lieutenant General Vuma? And his words were, if I wanted her dead, she would be.
Okay.
So what's your first reaction to a former minister saying something like that?
My reaction?
Yeah.
Well, I'm not him, so I wouldn't.
No, not him, but I'm just saying like, but you know him and you worked with him for a very, very long time.
Yes.
So would you consider that like a threat to say that? And does he have capacity to be able to just kill someone if he wanted them dead?
Not as far as I know, since I know him, he doesn't have the capacity to kill.
Lieutenant General Kamalo. So you spoke here, we asked you about him stating under oath that 90% of Gauteng SAPS is corrupt. And you said he's exaggerating. Should we have someone who is head of crime intelligence in the country come to the ad hoc committee, come to parliament under oath and say such things? And not just to the committee, but to the entire country. Did you engage him about that?
Yeah, I did engage him, Honorable Chair,
And
on that matter. And,
seriously, did you, like in a serious way, and did you reprimand him? Because I don't think it was just an exaggeration.
No, I did engage him, and we all acknowledge that, yes, corruption is a challenge, and Gauteng province is affected to a great extent, but not as far as the 90%.
But my question here is more outside of him. I'm saying that we have a head of crime intelligence, national commissioner, that can come here. It's either he doesn't take parliament serious and he can just spew out things that you as SAPS have not done any analysis or any research on and declare to the entire country that 90%. He just said that and he was very serious. It wasn't a joke.
Yeah,
So
well,
how do we take someone like that serious? As a nation, how do we take our head of crime intelligence serious who can come and exaggerate something like that in such a serious platform?
yeah, well, I'm sure he's coming here, Honorable Chair. Maybe he will be able to give you the figures.
No, he's
but,
not coming back. We're done.
Okay.
But I'm saying just you as a national commissioner,
Yes.
do you think we can have faith as South Africans in a head of crime intelligence that can just come in a platform like this and just declare stuff like that?
Yeah, no. It is concerning, and I engage him on that. And
How did you engage him? Just nicely, like, I think you're exaggerating on 90%. Or did you reprimand him?
I said, well, I reprimanded to say, but you can't say
Tell us how you
90%.
reprimanded him because you seem very calm now. We want to see how you reprimand your generals.
Well, I
National
can't
Commission. Give us a
perform an
example.
act, but I told him that it can't
Yes,
be. No. I
Let
don't.
the nation feel like we have a national commissioner that can reprimand his general.
I can
Because-
reprimand. Ask them for sure. They know.
Okay.
But
You're not feeling convinced, but okay. Why do you think, National Commissioner, the level of infiltration or capture in Gauteng is as prevalent as it is? Or what have you done, or how are we going to make an assessment on it?
well, the assessment was done, of course, by the intelligence community, and there are areas where we know what is happening, and we have put projects in, and some around illicit mining, there's been arrest. Some of the matters are still being rounded off, and we will get results as we go on.
Okay.
And of course, remember, Gauteng have got quite a bigger workforce in the country, population say. So, yeah.
I've got like 2 minutes left. Let me ask you just quickly, you said that Kat Maklala is the head of one of the big five cartels. You didn't tell us who the second one was, and you said the three are still under investigation. Who's the second one? And do you actually believe that Mr. Maklala can head a cartel? Or is it a cartel? Okay, I'm asking you too many questions. Is it a cartel in the sense of the word cartel that we see in South American countries, or is it a syndicate? Because your deputy national commissioner said we're not on the level of cartels yet.
Yeah, well, maybe the word might be used interchangeably, but
Okay.
it's a close group of people working together.
Okay.
And
Okay.
Kat is one of them, allegedly. And Katie Molefe, I did say it earlier, Katie Molefe allegedly is one of them. And
Who's the second one? Oh, okay. And then the other three, we are waiting.
Correct, yeah.
For how long?
Yeah, it depends how quick they round off with the work.
Just my last question is going to be on the General Pachani. He had Paul O'Sullivan and Sarah Jane Trent, and their entire investigation done by Northwest SAPS. Is that something that is regular? I mean, obviously the scene of the crime, etc., was Gauteng.
Mm.
So can you give us your National Commissioner hat on that investigation, why it was conducted, and is it something that is regular?
Thanks, Honorable Chair. There's nothing irregular in that. You do use, if you feel like you can use local police to do a specific investigation, there's nothing wrong. You get the police from somewhere to come and do the investigation.
But it was pretty much everybody from Northwest. So it wasn't like he put together a team from different provinces. It's like he handed over the entire investigation. I think it was to the deputy provincial commissioner for Northwest.
Yeah, I can't talk for him, but there's nothing irregular in having Free State members coming to do an investigation in Gauteng. Actually, now I have Western Cape doing investigation in South Africa on a specific project, only Western Cape.
You won't say that too loud. You can see the DA can just start smiling. Thank you. Thank you, Chair, and thank you, National Commissioner.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Honorable Mathys. No, you have exceeded your time, you know. The next speaker is Honorable Sols. Your time starts at 16:55 and it ends at 17:25.
Thank you, Chairperson. General, good evening.
Good evening, honorable member.
General, I want us to be clear that I'm not speaking to you from a place of perfection. I'm a chief of sinners myself. But as an MP, despite my shortcomings, I'm required to hold you and others to a certain standard, because to whom much is given, much is expected. In this very chambers, many allegations have been made publicly, but no proof has been produced to date. When I directly asked whether some generals or ministers are corrupt, I am told it cannot be said, as it's still under investigation. Testimony has pointed to factions and two sides. We have heard it called a Zulu war on the record by former Minister Becky Cele. The State Capture Commission showed us that the elite will simply use the law to protect each other from arrests and punishment. The country is of the view that nothing will really happen to the big shots, General. It looks like this is just political theater, and I refuse to be one of the characters. The law of men might not do much, or it may take too long to act, but the Lord will act. Therefore, I chose today to look to a higher court. Psalms 91 says, "The Lord is a God who avenges. A God who avenges, shine forth. Rise up, judge of the earth. Pay back to the proud what they deserve. How long, Lord, will the wicked, how long will the wicked be jubilant? They pour out arrogant words. All the evildoers are full of boasting. God is not allied with a corrupt throne, a throne that brings on misery by its decrees. The wicked band together against the righteous and condemn the innocent to death. But the Lord has become our fortress, and my God, the rock in whom I take refuge. He will repay them for their sins and destroy them for their wickedness. The Lord, our God, will destroy them." Thank you, General. Thank you, Chairperson.
Are you done, Honorable Sols?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to request you to repeat that that verse. It's a very important verse. You know, when we speak about the Lord, that is a moment of it's a moment of reflection. Do you have the generosity through the benevolence of the chair to repeat that verse or that statement you have just made?
Chair, it's a very serious thing.
Yes, I agree 100% with.
Speak such into the atmosphere.
Mm.
I will gladly do it again because I know what it means. The Lord is a God who avenges. O God who avenges, shine forth. Rise up, Judge of the earth. Pay back to the proud what they deserve. How long, Lord, will the wicked, how long will the wicked be jubilant? They pour out arrogant words. All the evildoers are full of boasting. God is not allied with a corrupt throne, a throne that brings on misery by its decrees. The wicked band together against the righteous and condemn the innocent to death. But the Lord has become our fortress, and my God, the rock whom I take refuge. He will repay them for their sins and destroy them for their wickedness. The Lord, our God, will destroy them.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Honorable Sangon.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Chair, and thanking Honorable Souls for blessing us. But Chair, for the record, I think we need to correct a statement that Honorable Souls has made. I'm sure it was by error. It was not Minister Ele who called it a Zulu war. It was Mr. Ketmatlala. Just for the record, if we could correct that, please. Thank you, Chair.
Let's hear what Honorable Solis is saying.
It was actually Minister Taylor who said that because I also questioned him on it. That's why I know.
Mm. Yes, what Honorable Solis says, he is right. The statement was made by the minister saying that he was informed by Ketmatlala that it's a Zulu war. So before us, that statement was made by former Minister Taylor. Honorable Nwala.
Yeah, Chair, I think it's both sides, boss. Even Mr. Matlala did mention that he was told by the former Minister Cartel that he is caught in between a Zulu war. So I
Yeah.
think it came from this side to this side, then from this side to this side.
Yeah.
That's fine, Chair.
It was
We don't know where the Zulu war
it was-
originates.
it
I
was-
withdraw. It's
It
fine.
was an
Thank you.
osmosis in reverse. Yeah. Is osmosis and osmoregulation. The next speaker will be Honorable Vessels.
Thank you, Honourable Chairperson, and good afternoon, General.
Good afternoon,
Let me
Honorable Member.
start with the PKTT. You earlier said that during questioning that you do not agree that the PKTT should be disbanded. You also, to an extent, defending the PKTT when the Honourable Breitenbach was questioning you, said that the PKTT's the proof of the good work that they are doing lies also in the investigations that they are doing with regards to the Big Five cartel. Am I correct?
And the Big Five cartel, that is done by Gauteng GC Ops.
But when you answered the question, when you responded to Honorable Breitenbach, you said that the rest of the Big Five cartel will be identified, and it's because of the good work that the Big ATT is doing. And you said that is the proof why they are actually doing good work. You remember that you said that?
Yeah, correct, Honorable Chair.
Now, Commissioner, once again, I want to put the question to you that the PKTD cost a lot of money. Do you agree? If I think the
Okay,
figure that's in the presentations are about 435 million rand since its inception in 2018. Am I correct?
Yeah, correct. It costs a lot of money, Honorable Chair.
That's more than 62 million rand, more or less, a year. Do you think, or in your opinion rather, does that cost justify the results that was yielded by the PKTT?
According to me, Honorable Chair, yes, they do justify the number of convictions that they had does justify. And
But it's not a lot of convictions, National Commissioner.
Mm.
It's very, very few if one looks at the figures. If one takes that and you project it to the whole South African police service, if that is what a conviction costs, we have a problem. Because we have to convict a lot of criminals. We have a lot of criminals in this country.
Yeah, Honorable Chair, through you, the investigation of this type of organized crime cases are not as easy. And well, out of all of the actions that we did before, the only one that worked for us is this one. Unless the honorable member, you say, let's pack and go back home and life goes on. I'm sure you public were employed by you, you have got a bigger say. If you say so, at the end of the day, it will be it. But from where I'm sitting, the number of convictions, because convictions on this type of matters are not as easy, like a matter related, one would call it sometimes social, where somebody just steps somebody. It's complicated investigations, which one think that I take it that they are serious organized crime and they went out of their way to do this type of investigations. And from where I'm sitting, I see that there is definitely a value in this type of investigation. Hence, we now extend it to Gauteng. There's a lot of unresolved political cases in Gauteng. And we're looking forward that they are going to be able to make breakthrough in those cases.
So I think we all would agree that political killings and solving those cases, and also through that preventing those type of crimes, that political killings from happening, is important. There's a lot of other complicated crimes in South Africa as well that I think you would agree also requires a lot of resources, and to a large extent has more victims. Would you not agree?
Yeah, I do agree, Honorable Member. Hence, there are certain areas where we have capacities. For example, your Eastern Cape and Western Cape, we have a team of that is dealing with taxi violence. In Western Cape, we have a team that is dealing with gang violence. And now we are going to reinforce further those teams in terms of not numbers, but a different form of a skill to deal with gang violence, especially your Gauteng, Lorado Park, and those areas, and the Cape Flats. We are coming with a different model that we think is going to do our best. So each area you'll find a different form of investigation, and the investigation differs all the time. So I agree with you, yes.
With all due respect, I don't think gang violence is a new problem, and I think it's long overdue, and a lot of the other areas that you mentioned now as well. But be that as it may, Commissioner, wouldn't you then agree that if one looks at this from especially a operational perspective and a financial perspective, that the resources allocated to the BKTT, although the work of the BKTT is important, it does seem disproportionate to other task teams and other priority areas? Would you not agree with that?
Well, the most expensive project out of all this, Honorable Chair, is the gang violence in the Western Cape, not the PKTT.
Yes, but it's, I don't think we can compare it on that, on the exact number, but in terms of the proportionality thereof. This is one team of a few members that's costing 62 million rand a year. If you take the number of officers involved in the gang-related task team, then it's not the same thing. Like you're spending a lot less money proportionately. Would you not agree?
I'll agree that we spend more money on gang violence in the Western Cape with less convictions. Hence, we are changing the model now. And with PKTT, we spend that money that you say is more with more convictions.
Now, I want to get back to this. This question has been asked a lot, but I want to ask it again. To you, because I started with the statement that you responded to the Honorable Breitenbach by defending the BKTT's existence by saying that they are investigating the Big Five cartel. That's not the mandate of the BKTT. Why is it necessary for the members of the BKTT to do the work of organized crime?
Yeah, Honorable Chair, well, we use police in terms of the skill that they have. Wherever we see that we need that skill, we use it.
Why aren't they then not moved to organized crime? If there's a problem, why aren't those specialized people that then have the skills in organized crime not rather used permanently to fight organized crime, which is a huge problem?
Well, for organized crime, Honorable Chair, I did indicate when I think I was talking to Honorable Breitenbach that there is a strategy that we developed that we are going to have new teams dealing with that. But for now, I said we are taking the expertise of PKTT and we are multiplying it into other areas. Like I said, you go to Madlanga team, you'll find elements of PKTT. You go to PKTT Gauteng, you'll find elements of KZN PKTT. That's where we are expanding the skill in that regard. Not take PKTT and put them into organized crime. We don't see it will make any sense that way.
Okay. National Commissioner, you became the National Commissioner on the 31st of March 2022, am I correct?
Correct.
That's 4 years. Your response to a lot of questions today and the previous time you appeared was that you are now doing this. You now have a new framework. You're now doing this. You're acting here. With regards to the security clearance, you're now acting. You changed it now. Why only now? What did you do for at least 3 years before now?
When I took over Honorable Chair, you'll recall that in terms of numbers, we were challenged. There is a lot that we did. We had to rebuild the whole management of crime intelligence, which we are still rebuilding. Remember, the vetting is done from there. So I did tell you that if there are no numbers we don't employ, I will not, there's no way I can get members. But after we have employed this 10,000 times 2 times 3, we have increased the capacities in all areas within SAPS, in various areas. It's still not sufficient, but at least, that's why I said, at least the capacity in CI now, for the first time they vetted the more than 700 people in a year, which never happened before. So, yeah.
Wouldn't it be better to have gotten rid of the rot first before bringing in new? Because if you, for instance, have a bag of potatoes and there's one fraught potato in there and you throw in new ones, the new ones are also going to become fraught. Isn't that what's currently happening? You're bringing in new people, you're building capacity, but you're not acting against those that have actually broken the South African Police Service.
We are acting on them. There is quite a number of people that.
Did you act against the bid evaluation committee that approved the tender of Cartel?
There are people on suspension as you speak, and the process and the disciplinary is going on, but it's not all. Some are still coming. The unfortunate part was that the forensic investigation that will assist me exactly who did what was supposed to be finalized in December. Unfortunately, the team have been finalized of risk committee. I was talking over the weekend to the head of risk. They are working day, night, weekends to finalize that report. And she said to me, definitely end of March, I will have the report. So I've acted on some, but to complete the cycle, I need that forensic report.
Those same generals that were involved in the BEC with the Cartel tender was subject to a disciplinary hearing or disciplinary steps not too long ago. Do you know what the outcome of that disciplinary process was?
No, it's, the one I know, is still pending even now. It's
The
not
one
finalized.
that I'm referring to is a very strange outcome that I've heard about it, but it's very strange. The proceedings were stayed due to the fact that they're permanently stayed, due to the fact that there's no documentary evidence. You see, National Commissioner, that's the problem. This happens under your watch. You're the accounting officer. You're the National Commissioner. The rot is very, very deep. These people are not only involved in one tender. It's not just now. It's years and years and years. You were Deputy National Commissioner before you became National Commissioner. And then when you use words earlier today, that we're doing the work, there's no factions. And I want to go to factions quickly. If you say there's no factions, because that was your evidence earlier, but what is it? Is it just individuals? Is it one dog eating each other? Is it dog eat dog? Is that what is happening in SAPS? Because factions will to a certain extent explain it. But if you say there's no factions, what? Oh, let me count my words. What is happening then?
Well, Honorable Chair, if a member of senior management identify a criminal activity or misconduct by another senior management and the steps are taken against that one, you can't call that a faction. It's not a faction.
But it's not consequent. You don't take steps against everybody that transgresses. Why was General Khumalo not suspended at all?
I explained earlier, Honorable Chair, that whatever that is alleged that a member has done it must conform to a misconduct. in terms of the regulations of SARS. If it doesn't conform to that, then how then do you suspend a member?
Well-
Otherwise, you will end up suspending members for whoever says this one did this, then you suspend. This one did this, then you suspend. There is policy, disciplinary regulations. You take that which is alleged to have been done, you weigh against the disciplinary regulation, and it must constitute misconduct in terms of the regulations, and you take steps. But if it does not, there's nothing you can do, Honorable Chair.
Why did you try to settle with General Vuma? And get her to accept her early retirement and sign a non-disclosure agreement?
Because the amount of money of litigation that we were spending was becoming more and more if one compares to chasing whatever case is there.
But you believe that she was guilty, that there's prima facie evidence of transgressions on her side. Am I correct?
Yeah, yes, there was.
But you wanted to settle,
Well,
and so no consequence management at all.
what I'm saying is, Honorable Chair, one did weigh against what we have spent and what we are still going to spend in terms of against the same official. That's how one way that, and if we're going to spend more public money chasing this specific individual and which is closer to pension, then rather the person go.
Well, if she was really,
Those are the options that one way.
if she was really guilty, and if she's guilty, then I think the public would appreciate, even if it costs public money, that an example is set so that this corruption ends. Because the problem is that if one looks and National Commissioner, you were here in the very beginning when we started this process. We all knew a lot of about the corruption and the allegations and the rot and the poor performance of the South African Police Service. But I think this committee and what we've heard in this long time that we've been busy here is so much worse than we could ever imagine. Because the number of people that are actually guilty and that there's allegations and prima facie evidence against is astounding. But there's no consequences. People are suspended, they sit at home with full pay for years and years and years, and then then the cases are dropped and they're appointed at metro police departments with big salaries or any other places. And there's no consequences for transgressions. And a whole national commissioner does that. And that's your testimony. Because you wanted to save a little bit of money whilst billions are being stolen from the South African Police Service due to corruption. But you said no example.
But remember, Honorable Chair, remember, it doesn't mean that when you do that, then he's done away with the criminal case and everything. The criminal case is still running.
Where's the criminal cases against General Vuma?
It's still being investigated by DBCI and
For 4 years.
by IDED.
For 5 years. No, National Commissioner, that's very bad. That's really very
But
bad.
currently the people that are on suspension, they are starting to go to their trial now. It's only the senior managers that we are enlisting the services of external service providers that we are still awaiting the state attorney to finalize those matters.
Thank you, National Commissioner. I think the bottom line is that you cannot now tell us that you're now going to change the course of the ship that is sinking. You should have done it whilst you were the Deputy National Commissioner of Policing. When you were appointed as the National Commissioner, I know that you had to rebuild a lot of things, but certain steps you didn't take. And now it's as if it's news to you. It's not news to South Africans that suffer due to crime. It's not news to South Africans that see the corruption. And this committee highlighted it And with all due respect, the buck stops with you. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Vessels.